Just after dawn in Santiago, traders' phones lit up with shocking news. The US had imposed sweeping sanctions on Chile's copper giant, Codelco. The financial district fell silent, disbelief rippling through trading floors as copper futures soared. For decades, Chile and the US had been partners. This move shattered that trust overnight. In New York, brokers watched copper prices skyrocket, clients panicked about supply chains, and lawmakers questioned the wisdom of targeting a stable ally. At Chile's massive Chuquicamata mine, miners felt betrayed, their legacy suddenly uncertain. In Washington, officials cited national security, but even supporters were stunned by the scale of the rupture. The shock waves were immediate, a geopolitical earthquake with aftershocks still to come. For both nations, the world had changed overnight and the future was suddenly unpredictable. The White House moved quickly, acting with a sense of urgency that signaled just how seriously the administration viewed the unfolding situation. Rather than presenting the new sanctions as a punitive measure, officials carefully framed them as a matter of national security, a necessary step to protect the country's future, not simply to punish another nation. According to senior officials, Chinese and Russian-linked companies had, over the years, quietly gained significant control over crucial segments of Chile's copper supply chain. This influence extended from mining operations to shipping routes, giving these foreign powers a strategic foothold in a resource vital to the United States. Intelligence reports painted a stark picture. If tensions escalated, these rivals could one day choke off the copper supply, crippling America's economy and undermining its military readiness. Copper isn't just a commodity, it's the backbone of everything from advanced weaponry to basic infrastructure. The administration also raised alarms about technology leaks. There were growing concerns that US mining expertise and proprietary know-how were being siphoned off, making their way to Beijing and Moscow, potentially eroding America's competitive edge in resource extraction and processing. This wasn't just about economics or trade balances, it was about safeguarding critical infrastructure and protecting valuable intellectual property that underpins national security. The stakes were even higher because of the ongoing green energy transition. Copper is absolutely essential for manufacturing electric vehicles, building solar panels, and upgrading the nation's power grid. Without a secure supply, America's clean energy ambitions could stall. Allowing strategic rivals to control this resource was increasingly seen as a grave strategic error, one that could leave the US vulnerable in a rapidly changing world. The message from Washington was clear: America must take bold action to secure its own resource destiny, even if it means disrupting a historic partnership and facing short-term costs. The sanctions on Codelco, Chile's state-owned copper giant, were just the opening move in a much broader campaign to reshore and friendshore vital supply chains, ensuring that critical materials remain in trusted hands. The administration signaled to allies and adversaries alike that it was prepared to pay a steep diplomatic and economic price for security, redefining what national interest means in an era of global competition. Copper is the lifeblood of modern civilization, powering everything from smartphones to the electrical grid. This reddish gold metal is woven into the very fabric of our daily lives, often hidden in plain sight, yet absolutely essential for the world to function as we know it. It's essential for construction, transportation, and especially the green energy revolution. From the pipes that bring water into our homes to the wiring that keeps our cities lit, copper is everywhere. Its unique properties make it irreplaceable in countless applications. Electric vehicles, wind turbines, and solar panels all depend on vast amounts of copper. As the world shifts toward cleaner energy, demand for copper is skyrocketing. Every new electric car, every wind farm, and every solar panel installation requires more copper than ever before, making it a cornerstone of our sustainable future. Its antimicrobial properties make it vital in healthcare, where copper surfaces help reduce the spread of harmful bacteria and infections. Hospitals and clinics increasingly rely on copper to keep patients and staff safe. Meanwhile, copper pipes keep water safe and clean, ensuring that millions of people have access to reliable plumbing and healthy drinking water every day. Economists call it Dr. Copper for a reason. Its price predicts global economic health. When copper prices rise, it's often a sign that industries are expanding and economies are growing. When copper prices surge, it signals booming industry. Factories ramp up production, construction projects accelerate, and global trade flourishes. But when they fall, a slowdown looms. Factories may close, jobs are lost, and the ripple effects can be felt across the globe, highlighting copper's role as a true economic barometer. The U.S. action against Chile sent shockwaves through global markets, raising fears of supply shortages and economic instability. Investors and governments alike watched nervously, knowing that any disruption in copper supply could have far-reaching consequences. This wasn't just a trade dispute, it was a warning shot to the entire world economy. The event underscored how interconnected nations are through the copper supply chain and how vulnerable modern life is to geopolitical tensions. The stakes for copper go far beyond business. They touch every aspect of modern life. From the devices in our pockets to the power lines above our heads, copper is the silent force that keeps our world running smoothly. The world was forced to reckon with just how much it relies on this unassuming metal. As we look to the future, copper's importance will only grow, shaping the way we live, work, and connect with each other. The U.S.-Chile Copper Alliance stretches back a century, built on shared interests and mutual trust. American investment helped turn Chile into a copper superpower, fueling both nations' growth. During World War II and the Cold War, Chilean copper was a strategic asset for the U.S. Even after Chile nationalized its mines, the partnership endured. Codelco remained a key supplier, and U.S. firms provided technology and financing. Free trade agreements deepened the bond, making Chilean copper a cornerstone of American industry. For generations, this relationship was a model of international cooperation. That's why the sanctions felt like a betrayal, targeting not a rival but a steadfast ally. Chile's reliability had been the foundation of trust. Now, that foundation was shaken. The move signaled that old rules of loyalty no longer applied in a new era of competition. The partnership's decline was years in the making, driven by Chile's deepening ties with China. Chinese investment poured into Chilean copper infrastructure and logistics, eclipsing the U.S. as Chile's top trading partner. Washington grew uneasy as China's influence became more strategic, with long-term contracts and political leverage. Environmental and labor issues at Codelco further strained the relationship, raising questions about shared values. U.S. officials suspected high-purity copper was being diverted to China, leaving lower-quality material for American buyers. Whether true or not, these doubts eroded trust built over a century. Geopolitical rivalry, diverging standards, and the demands of modern technology chipped away at the alliance. By the time sanctions hit, the partnership was already on shaky ground. The sanctions unleashed chaos on global markets. Copper prices soared over 20% in hours. Construction and manufacturing costs exploded, forcing companies to scramble for alternatives. American industries, from automakers to tech firms, faced supply chain nightmares and costly delays. Consumers felt the pinch as prices for electronics, vehicles, and appliances rose. Inflationary pressure mounted, threatening economic growth at a precarious moment. In Chile, the peso plunged, imports became pricier, and government revenues collapsed. Social unrest erupted as citizens demanded answers and protested the economic fallout. The sanctions struck at the heart of Chile's economy and the welfare of its people. The copper shock rippled through both nations, with no easy fix in sight. With Chilean copper cut off, the U.S. scrambled for new suppliers. Peru, the next largest producer, faces political instability and frequent mining disruptions. Australia offers stability, but shipping is costly, and most of its copper is already committed to Asia. Africa's copper belt, especially the DRC, is rich but fraught with conflict and human rights concerns. Relying on these sources would mean new risks, political, logistical, and ethical. The U.S. is likely to diversify, seeking smaller suppliers in Canada, Mexico, and even restarting domestic mining. This friend-shoring approach will take years to stabilize supply. In the short term, American industries must navigate a patchwork of unreliable and expensive options. The void left by Chile won't be filled easily or quickly. The recent U.S. strike on Chile marks more than just a diplomatic incident. It signals the dawn of a new era in global trade, one where the rules are rapidly being rewritten. Increasingly, national security concerns are taking precedence over traditional economic logic, reshaping the way countries interact and do business on the world stage. In this shifting landscape, countries can no longer rely on the stability of long-standing partnerships. Trust is eroding, and alliances are being tested like never before. Global supply chains, once optimized for efficiency and profit, have now become geopolitical battlegrounds, vulnerable to sudden disruptions and political maneuvering. Even nations that have tried to remain neutral may soon find themselves under pressure to pick a side, as the world divides into competing spheres of influence. This division is leading to the rise of rival economic blocs, with the United States and China at the center, each vying for dominance and loyalty from other nations. The consequences could be profound, potentially unraveling decades of globalization that have connected economies and lifted millions out of poverty. As barriers rise and borders harden, the world economy becomes more fragile, more divided, and more susceptible to shocks. Ironically, the US move may end up pushing Chile closer to China as Santiago seeks new partners to secure its economic future. This shift could deepen Beijing's influence throughout Latin America, giving China a stronger foothold in a region long considered within the US sphere. Other countries, watching these developments, may start to view China as a more reliable and predictable partner, further undermining US strategic goals. The era of a single, integrated global market, where goods, capital, and ideas flowed freely, may be drawing to a close, replaced by a patchwork of fragmented strategic alliances, each with its own rules and priorities. As countries scramble to diversify supply chains and invest in domestic production, both risks and opportunities will multiply, reshaping industries and economies worldwide. The copper dispute is far more than a simple trade spat. It's a flashpoint that reveals deeper tensions and the start of a much larger transformation. It's a sign of a fundamental realignment in the global order, with new alliances forming and old certainties fading away. As the world enters this new, uncertain phase of economic and political competition, nations, businesses, and individuals alike will need to adapt to a reality where change is the only constant. As the dust settles, 4 signposts will reveal the crisis's direction. Watch copper prices. Persistent highs mean ongoing pain, while a drop signals new supplies are working. Monitor diplomatic moves. US-Chile talks or Chile pivoting to China will show if the partnership can be salvaged. Track investments in new mines worldwide and US efforts to boost domestic production. Listen to industry leaders. Are they still struggling or adapting to the new reality? These signals will guide us through the uncertainty ahead. The copper crisis is far from over. The world is watching and waiting for the next move.